The sun had barely risen over the quiet town of Ridge Hollow when Zingle-father Daniel Carter tightened the shoelaces of his dusty work boots and glanced over at his daughter Lily, who was still rubbing sleep from her eyes. Mornings like these always carried a kind of gentle chaos. Lily trying to find her backpack, Daniel trying to find patience, and yet, despite the rush, there was love in every second of it. Daniel had been raising Lily alone since she was 3 years old, ever since her mother walked out and never looked back. He was both mom and dad, provider and protector, a man who learned to braid hair via YouTube tutorials and could make pancakes in the shape of Mickey Mouse, even when exhausted from a night shift. Their life wasn't perfect, but it was theirs, stitched together with resilience and the quiet promise that no matter what came their way, they would face it together. That particular morning, Daniel had promised Lily they would go to the woods after school to collect pine cones for her class project. It was a simple plan, ordinary even, but to Lily it was everything. She loved those moments with her dad, just the two of them, walking under the canopy of towering pines, listening to the wind whisper through the branches. She loved how he always pretended to know every bird call, even when he clearly didn't. And Daniel, he loved the way she clung to his arm, how her laughter filled spaces in his heart he thought had gone silent forever. After dropping her off at school, Daniel headed to his job at the lumber mill. The hours were long, the work heavy, and the pay barely enough to keep the lights on, but he never complained. Watching Lily sleep at night was all the reminder he needed of why he pushed himself so hard. She deserved the world, even if he had to build it piece by piece with rough, blistered hands. The day crawled by with the hum of machinery and the scent of fresh-cut timber. When the final whistle blew, Daniel wiped his forehead, grabbed his jacket, and hurried to pick up Lily. As soon as she spotted him, she ran full speed into his arms, chattering excitedly about the project, her teacher, and how she couldn't wait to find the perfect pine cone in the woods. They drove out to their usual trail, an old dirt path, surrounded by towering trees and golden light pouring through the leaves. Lily held her father's hand as they walked, swinging it playfully. Daniel breathed deeply, grateful for moments like this, moments that reminded him life wasn't always about survival. Sometimes it was about peace, but that peace shattered in an instant. As they turned a bend along the trail, Lily suddenly stopped. "Daddy!" she whispered, tightening her grip on his hand. At first Daniel thought she'd spotted a deer or maybe a stray dog, but then he saw it too. A figure lying motionless in the dirt, half hidden by fallen branches. A man. Daniel stepped protectively in front of Lily. "Stay behind me, sweetheart," he approached cautiously, heart thudding in his chest. When he got close enough, he saw the man was still breathing, but barely. His clothes were torn, his face bruised, his skin ghostly pale. He looked like he had been wandering the woods for days. "Sir, can you hear me?" Daniel crouched beside him. The man's eyelids fluttered open. His lips trembled as though trying to form words, but only a rasp escaped. Daniel leaned closer. "Help, please," the stranger whispered. Daniel swallowed hard. He didn't know who this man was. He didn't know if helping him would put him or Lily in danger. But he also couldn't walk away, not when someone was helpless, fading in front of him. "Daddy, is he gonna die?" Lily's trembling voice came from behind him. Daniel turned to her and forced a gentle smile. "Not if we can help him." The stranger tried lifting his hand, and Daniel saw deep gashes along his arm, gashes that didn't look accidental. Someone had hurt this man. Someone had left him to die. "We need to get him help." Daniel grabbed his phone. No signal. He tried again. Nothing. Of all days for the old trail to fail him. Daniel made a choice then, a choice that would change the course of his and Lily's lives forever. "We're taking him home," he said. Lily gasped. "Daddy!" "To our house?" Daniel nodded grimly. "We can't leave him here, sweetheart. He won't last another hour." He hoisted the man onto his back, shocked by how light he felt, as if hunger and dehydration had stripped him to bone. Lily hurried beside them, eyes wide with fear and concern. They reached the truck and gently laid the stranger in the back seat. Lily kept a blanket over him, whispering, "It's okay. You're gonna be okay," even though she wasn't sure he could hear her. As Daniel started the engine, the stranger suddenly grabbed his arm with surprising strength. "Don't let them find me," he croaked. Daniel froze. "Who?" But the man had already drifted back into unconsciousness. The drive home felt longer than ever. Daniel's mind raced with questions. Who was this man? What happened to him? Who was chasing him? And what had he dragged their small, fragile family into? When they finally reached their cabin at the edge of town, Daniel carried the stranger inside and laid him on the sofa. Lily fetched water and a clean towel, watching with worry as her father cleaned the wounds as best as he could. Hours passed. The stranger remained unconscious, breathing shallowly, twitching every now and then as though haunted by nightmares. Then, just as Daniel was about to step away, the man's eyes opened, this time fully, and what he said next was the beginning of the heartbreak. The stranger's eyes opened slowly, unfocused at first, then sharpening as they landed on Daniel and Little. Lily standing anxiously beside the sofa, and for a long moment he simply stared, as if trying to remember where he was or how he had gotten there, until finally he exhaled a shaky breath and whispered, You shouldn't have brought me here." Daniel immediately tensed, not in anger but in fear of what danger this wounded man might be running from, and Lily, standing partly hidden behind her father's leg, watched the stranger with the innocent curiosity only a child can possess. The man struggled to sit up, wincing as pain shot across his bruised ribs, and Daniel gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "You need to rest," he said firmly. "You were dying out there." The stranger shook his head, his voice breaking as he murmured, "I wasn't supposed to survive. They'll come looking, and if they find me, they'll hurt anyone who helped me." Daniel felt a cold chill crawl up his spine, but instead of stepping back, he moved closer, lowering his voice. Who's after you?" The man hesitated, then opened his mouth, but before he could answer, Lily walked closer, holding a cup of warm water in her tiny hands. "Here, drink this," she whispered. The man's eyes softened at the sight of her, and his expression cracked with something between gratitude and unbearable sadness. He took the cup with trembling fingers, sipping slowly as Lily sat cross-legged on the floor beside him, watching him as if he were some lost creature needing kindness more than anything. "What's your name?" she asked softly, and the stranger blinked several times before, answering in a voice barely above a whisper, "My name is Adrian." Daniel repeated the name under his breath, studying the man's gaunt face. The bruises shaped like fists, the cuts that looked like someone had dragged a knife across his skin, not to kill him quickly, but to make him suffer. Adrian closed his eyes, leaning his head back against the sofa, and after a long pause he spoke again. "I was running away from men who will do anything to find me. I thought I could hide in the woods, but I didn't expect—" His voice cracked once more. "I didn't expect anyone to show mercy." Lily frowned. "Why? Did you do something bad?" Adrian looked at her, not with guilt, but with a sorrow so deep it seemed to drown him. "Not something bad," he whispered. "Something—" Right. Daniel exchanged a glance with his daughter before sighing and sitting on the coffee table across from Adrian. "Start from the beginning," he said quietly. "If you're in danger, we need to know what we're dealing with." Adrian rubbed his face with both hands, struggling to gather his strength. "I work for a man named Victor Hale," he finally said. "A wealthy businessman. Everyone thinks he's generous. Kind, a philanthropist." Adrian's jaw tightened, but behind closed doors, he's involved in trafficking, racketeering, things you can't even imagine. I discovered files, proof that could bring everything down. Daniel felt his stomach twist. He had heard stories about Victor Hale, everyone in Ridge Hollow had, but none this dark. "I tried to expose him," Adrian continued, "but his men found out. They chased me through 3 counties. I thought if I reached the woods, I could disappear long enough to hand the evidence to authorities. But they caught me.